So here we go. Remind me what level you guys are playing at. Was this Homecoming? Was this another tournament? Which one was
This was
this?
homecoming. This is the
Okay.
only tournament like we're in the season.
Okay.
And we're about like I think we have some golds, we have some plats, and
Yeah,
Okay.
diamonds.
that
Okay.
SR this game was probably like gold platish.
No problem. No
Hmm.
problem. Then we're setting up, and here we go. We set up good. We are. And I can see you guys have elected into a poke-heavy variant of Brawl with Zarya. Okay. And is that based on hero choices? Is that because you don't have a Mei player? Is that because you talk to me about the choice to run McCree and Hanzo here rather than one or the other?
We don't have a Mei player.
Great, fantastic. Okay. You've also gone with the Zarya over the Diva. Is that just a hey, we're more comfortable with Zarya?
Because our off tank does not only play Zarya and Hog.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, okay. You can't give me a Sigma. Jeez. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll hurt a little. It becomes a little challenging because you're electing into a very poke heavy version of Brawl, but then you're going with Zarya who's pretty Brawl heavy. You're not going with a Diva who could slow down the fight. You're not going with a Sigma who's poke heavy himself. You're going
Oh,
with a Zarya,
wait.
which
Oh,
is
so sorry. One second. Do you mind adding our other team members, Henry and Judy,
of
from the team too?
course, happy to do
Thank you.
so. Okay. I think we've got you all in here now, but if more people show up, just let me know. So yeah, that would be my first, okay, it makes your win condition in some of the mirrors a little harder for you guys to figure out because you're going to end up poke stronger than the other team in some ways, but you're going to have a tough time breaking some of their hard, strong rush brawls onto you. But that's okay. We can still play to our win conditions, play to our strength. Sorry, my new one's on the way, but it's a little bit of audio feedback. Okay, so here we go, and you guys are set like this. You didn't do any sort of close hold, which I appreciate. That's going to be mostly correct. And now you have to decide what you're going to do. Have you discovered at this point that, wait, there's no sort of widow or anything on the other team?
Yeah, we always talk about it first. Like, is there a widow?
Okay, so what do you do if there is versus isn't a widow on the other team right now?
I think instinctively, if there is a widow, we try to play towards play around hotel sort of. If she goes to take that balcony
Mm-hmm.
over like on their side of the choke, then I guess
Mm-hmm.
we're forced into taking that fight. But we just sort of
Yeah.
avoid sight lines if she tries to poke out a spawn.
Okay, so eventually she'll go there, and that's a problem. You can try some fancy, well, we'll just back off and loop around and maybe try to surprise them on their backline type stuff if she does it. You can try some, hey, we'll back up and then let our McCree, Hanzo poke her out from behind our shield, something like that. But ultimately, that's one thing. If there's not a Widow, what do you do? That's the case right now.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really have like really like a set in stone strategy right now. We kind of just instinctively like force our damage at the choke and see if we can stop them from pushing through.
Cool, cool. So that makes sense to me. Are you going to walk up to the choke? Is that what you're telling me? I hope not. No,
I
okay,
don't
good.
think so.
Good, good. So we've kind of already missed our window here, but here, by about now, we're probably aware that they don't have a widow, and I'd like us to actually start splitting. You don't have the Mei, which hurts my soul a little bit, but they don't either. I don't want to just shoot these guys from here. I want to shoot these guys from here and here. Why do I want to do that?
Off angle, like angles of pressure, so they have to look two directions.
That's good. Yeah, if they have to look in two different directions, spam that's meant for, say, your Hanzo who's chilling over here isn't going to hit your Zarya that's shooting from here, right?
Mhm.
And that's generally something we like. Zarya is a little bit of a special case, but that's generally something we like. So we like that. It also becomes a, well, do I tilt my shield this way? Do I tilt my shield this way? Well, I'll tilt my shield both ways. Okay, well, where are you actually going then? You have to make a decision at some point of, are you rotating this way? Are you rotating this way? If they try to rotate this way, we can deepen this angle and shoot them in the back. If they split too much, we can run onto their back. We get a lot of advantages by taking some angles. In general in Overwatch, and in this Brawl versus Brawl type setup, well, okay, we're going to look at this and we're going to go, hey, we're not going to get like dove on and surrounded or anything like this if we spread our people out, right? That's not really something this opposing team can do to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
Who would you recommend to like split up from Orion?
Mhm.
On this one, if I'm leaving my Rhine here, and I don't really care, I don't have to leave my Rhine here. I'm perfectly happy sending my Rhine here, but I'd be perfectly happy with a setup where it's like, hey, I have my Rhine and my McCree over here, my Zarya and my Hanzo over here, and I'm probably going to have kept my BAP more, somewhat more on this side and then that by definition, my Lucio will go with my Rhine because Lucio likes Rhine. Like that's probably how I'd think about setting this up, but I could really split this up just about any sort of way where I've got a reasonable amount of poke over here. I wouldn't put Hanzo and McCree over here. I generally wouldn't do that, but as long as I do one of them and someone else, I can be 4-2, I can be 3-3. I'm going to have enough pressure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Can they not like speed in faster than we can rotate back?
Can they not
Like if
speed
the
in?
Rhine is on the right side, then could they not just like walk right into the team
Walk
and
right
kind of
here?
split before the Rhine can get back? No, to the left. If
Walk
our
here?
Rhine's in the right side of the statue, can they not just walk left side of the statue and kind of force our team into a bad spot?
Got it. So what you're worried about is you've set your Reinhardt up here. Say
Yeah.
you put your Reinhardt and Kree over here, and they go, we're going to charge you, this sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Couple things. Oh, cool. You have fun charging us. My Lucio's right here. Like, my Lucio is literally playing right here, shooting at them. So, like, well, you guys have, like, I can roller skate for less than a second, and you guys have my speed and can rotate away. But even if that's not the case, this team is just going to pull back in this direction. And now when this Reinhardt team charges here, they're now in a situation where their Reinhardt is standing where your Reinhardt is right now. Your McCree is getting to shoot them in the back. Your Reinhardt is swinging into their back. And your Hanzo and BAP are sort of kiting backwards as your Zarya is kiting backwards. So, like, they're getting shot in the back as they try to catch this team that they're not actually faster than. And if they are doing too well, your Lucio just steps over here and boops them back and slows them down for just a second. Your Reinhardt, it's not like your Reinhardt can't go, oh, yay, I've always wanted to do this, and just pin into his own backline, that sort of thing. Like, no, you're really not that vulnerable because they actually create a situation where if they push through here and push onto your Reinhardt, they get shot in the back. If they push through here and push onto your backline, they get shot in the back. And either team understands, hey, we can probably win that, and their backline isn't really going to be able to support them as they push around the statue, as they push around there until they get here, at which point they're vulnerable to massive amounts of cleave from your Reinhardt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just one quick clarifying question. Say
Please.
say we have like two people playing on the left side of the statue from our current perspective, and then we have four people with the Rhine on the right side. Say they push the left side with speed.
Sure.
What so our current team, would they are blocked, they have line of sight of the other team blocked by the statue, so how would they help the two people that are currently being rushed?
Well, you've got two options. If your whole team is playing pretty close, you do have the option of going, or if your whole team has a good sight line, of going, I see what you're going to do, and I'm going to walk into your own back line, and now, we're going to do that. But the other option is, okay, cool, we're going to kite away. Like, okay, we see that you're rotating like this. We see that you're going like this, and we can pull back as this team pushes in a little bit. It sort of becomes a we pull back, you push in type thing like that. Or if it really becomes a like, no, it's just too scary, we just pull back and that's fine. Like, it might seem like, oh no, what are we ever going to do? Well, we're going to walk away. We're going to use Lucio. We're going to use a boop if we have to. Maybe they're going to get fancy and sneak their own Lucio over here and boop to try to keep us in. But that's again on our Lucio to prevent. That's on our team to see and shoot and make his job difficult. Like, we look at this and go, if someone's getting pushed over here, they're still going to kite away. We're not going to stay here until they're right on top of us. If it's clear that they're pushing in this way, we're going to leave pretty early. You follow?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Like, one last thing, are you not concerned about like Squishy's poking against Ashe?
Am I not concerned about Squishy's poking against Ashe on a team that doesn't have a Mercy or a Zen? Correct. Ashe isn't going to one-shot any of you. Like, Ashe isn't going to one-shot any of you, and yeah, she can do damage, but, like, you do damage to her too, and we're just going to have to deal with it. And the truth is, even if they had a Hanzo, I'd still have you guys do this. It's only if they have a Hanzo or a Widow. It's really only if they're sitting someone up here that I'm not going to have you guys do this, and really that's mostly got to be Widow. And the reason for that is, hey, now you have to be a little bit careful about getting walled in if they have a Mei, in terms of if you step too far forward, but yeah, we're going to go, hey, we want to punish them as they're rotating, because as they're rotating is when they're vulnerable, and we also want to punish them as they meet our front line, or as they try to chase our front line here. So, yeah, they're like, yes, it's scary, but we're going to go while she should be distracted doing something else, in this case, rotating. Does that sort of make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Cool. It's not my favorite Zarya bubble in the world. The reason it's not my favorite Zarya bubble is I don't know if this bubble was for my Reinhardt to swing or my Reinhardt to get poked. If it was for my Reinhardt to swing, it was probably a little bit too early. This other team isn't close enough yet. If it was for my Reinhardt to poke, well, this team 100% now has the option to run over my team, not while my Zarya bubble is 2 seconds away from cooldown, but while my Zarya is 7, 8, 9, like a lot of seconds away from cooldown, right? I didn't get any value out of this bubble. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when should I should I not be like trying to generate charge like early in the round though? Like
Oh,
when,
charge is fantastic for Zarya. But when it comes to Zarya's bubbles of friends, or really any of Zarya's bubbles, you've got two options. You've either got what's a poke bubble, which is a bubble early when the opposing team is 6, 7, 8 seconds or more from being able to be on top of your team. And that would be I'm going to bubble my Reinhardt who's getting poked at, who's going to do his own fire strike, that sort of thing. And it doesn't have a ton of value, but I'm trying to get a little bit of energy off of it. The other type of bubble that you do is a bubble that gets energy, but also gets value. So that would be a bubble that Reinhardt is actually able to swing during. That would be a bubble if someone got hooked in by Hog. That would be a bubble of my Doomfist is slamming in and I'm bubbling him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I just
And-
feel like it's
Go ahead.
hard to get those like all the time. So in this situation, should I wait for them to push in and then bubble the Rhine?
Yes, but yes and no. I'm going to say mostly yes, but what I'm actually going to look at here is we look at this. You got energy off that. I can live with that. I'm not willing to bubble Reinhardt anymore because that team isn't close enough. If I wait until... Give me a second. This isn't too big a deal. I'm not too worried. We could have already used one of each bubble, both a personal and a projected, before this point. Like literally before. So here, I'll go here. We're here. Okay, this is happening. I'm pretty comfortable that, see, this fire strike is coming. You go for this fire strike, but, like, this could have also been a chance. There was no reason your Reinhardt had to be hiding during this, right? Like, you needed energy. He would have been a valid target to bubble during this phase as well, yes?
So I could communicate with the Rhine and say like step up and take the bubble.
I mean, I don't know why you have to communicate. You guys are an organized team. Every single time a match starts like this, you start at 0 energy, right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if Knight Rider is here, but like your Zarya is going to want to get a poke phase of energy. She's going to want her first bubble cycle to be, hey, I would like my first bubbles to be energy bubbles that are just sort of poke bubbles, and I need a chance to use those early. Yeah, so you should communicate this, absolutely, but like this is a conversation where you don't really have to have it each time because you can kind of have it once, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Because now I could potentially go, hey, Reinhardt, start pushing. I'll bubble you. He'll walk up and swing twice and he'll back off. I could do that right now. That could absolutely be a thing. We could go, good enough. This is fine. But you wouldn't bubble him here. You'd bubble him. He'd be walking up to swing, knowing that you need to get energy. Does that make sense as a brawl bubble?
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
And that I'm not worried about. That's a real bubble because you get offensive value out of that. You're going to do 150 or more damage with that bubble from your Reinhardt swinging. And then your Reinhardt got ult charge, you got energy. Everything works fine with that, and it's hard for the opponents to push your lack of a bubble because, well, you did 150 damage to them and they feel a little weak. So that's fine. Whereas now, they can push this, and even if you got energy, they can push this because they didn't really get weak. Okay, so obviously Ashe takes you out here. She shoots you from here. That's unfortunate. Not the end of the world. Just a case of, hey, we don't potentially want... Oh, did she go from here? She's going to do these sorts of things. Not a big deal. We just really wanted to have our own situation where we had more likelihood of winning a poke battle if we had our angles. That's really all this comes down to, but no big deal. We close this. Okay, something's about to happen here. What's about to happen here?
They're gonna swing at each other, the Rhines.
The Ryans are going to swing at each other. That's the thing that's going to happen. That's probably not the most important event that's going to happen, but that is going to happen. What else is going to happen right now?
They're gonna try to push in.
Okay. Reinhardt is going to walk at you. Sigma's probably going to walk behind him. What else is going to happen?
McCree's going for a hotel flank, it looks like.
Ah, interesting. It's almost like that's what happens every single time. Okay, so how do we prevent this?
I think it's just like my job to look for it and here for it, like the Lucio.
Okay. I could go with that. You know what I'd rather do? I'd really rather my own McCree is flanking through Hotel, to be perfectly honest. And my McCree can have support from my Lucio, or maybe that's a diva that I'm staring at, not a Zarya. Okay. I'm kidding. My McCree can have support from my Lucio, that's totally fine. But I probably don't really want you to go contest it directly, because if you get flashed, he can absolutely beat you. And it's really one of the few ways you get taken off of the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want you contesting McCree at close range most of the time. And Hotel is going to kind of force flashbang range. So that wouldn't be my choice. My choice would actually be, let's contest this with McCree, which I can't anymore, or with, in this case, Hanzo, because what's Hanzo but a second McCree at this point? You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I'd like to do. But even if there wasn't a McCree there, I'd probably want to be developing an angle through Hotel. Why?
Because they have a player advantage, and we need to find some way to like pull it back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be real tough to like win this straight on shield war with their Reinhardt when they have Sigma, Ashe, and McCree, and you guys have Hanzo and Zarya, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want this to be a slow poke fight. I could either make this a brawly fight with our Zarya advantage, maybe. I'm making it a little worse than it is. The reality is you guys have a BAP. I guess they have a BAP and a Moira. There's some weird comps. You could try to take advantage of your speed differences to try to do some stuff like that and go, hey, let's keep out their backline, knock in their Reinhardt, things like that with your Lucio difference. But really, the easiest way to win, or the most consistent way to win in Brawl v Brawl is, hey, our front lines are going to fight, but sort of the best trump card that either side has is the McCree or McCree replacement, developing an off angle through something like Hotel and getting a 90-degree angle on their backline, forcing out an early lamp, forcing out an early ice block, getting a pick, that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just have one question in regards to the Hanzo taking the fight with McCree and Hotel.
Mm-hmm. Good luck.
At Hotel, yeah. Does Hotel force flash range, which is like Hanzo loses?
Yeah, it kind of sucks, doesn't it? Like,
So.
I hear you, but like your McCree is eliminated and your Zarya is not going to do it,
Yeah,
right?
so would you just like watch the exits of Hotel, or would you just go in there and just try to like headshot him? I guess.
Well, you can't just watch the exits of Hotel, because if you just watch the exits of Hotel, you're just going to be distracted, and if he's not there, he's winning value down main, right?
Yeah.
So, whereas if you push the Hotel, if he's not there, you now have this angle, and you either take out their back line, or you get this angle and you shoot them in the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the situation just sucks. Don't get me wrong, but like, yeah, you're basically going here, and hopefully you're gonna see there's a McCree, and you're gonna fight them, and you're gonna have a little bit of range. But yeah, you're gonna walk in here, and hopefully you don't walk right into this situation and get flashed. The reality is, I'd rather use my McCree for this than a Hanzo. But one of the weaknesses of this is specifically on this one. Yeah, McCree's got a little bit of an advantage over you. There's not a ton I can do about that, other than saying we'll take Lucio with you. That can be okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So this is like an instance of, oh, we're down, we need to take some risks, and
right. And the truth is, the Hotel off angle for your McCree would be the right answer in almost every situation, but it becomes even more the right answer when you go down, because there's like literally how else are you going to get back into the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So we're a little off on our timing there, and we need to work on this, where our Reinhardt went for a single swing and then got scared and shielded and back hopped, and Zarya correctly went, oh, you're swinging, and gave a bubble, but we didn't really get any swing value out of our bubble, did we?
No.
I mean, help with the rock.
What about the rock?
It's probably good to bubble when they're throwing a rock, right?
Oh, forget that. I don't care about the rock. Like, I look at this, and I go like this. Hey, this is happening. My Reinhardt is swinging. I'm bubbling him. Like, I'm bubbling my Reinhardt because my Reinhardt can put his shield up most of the time, but he can't put his shield up while he's swinging, right?
Yeah.
So I want to bubble him while he's swinging. He's in another Reinhardt's face who's likely to swing back at him, and people are likely to shoot at the Reinhardt because they don't want, A, the Reinhardt's in front of your team, in front of their team, but B, the Reinhardt is in their Reinhardt's face and is going to keep swinging until he's made to stop, right?
Correct.
So I don't even care that the rock is coming. I'm just gonna bubble my Reinhardt right here because it does a lot of good things. But my Reinhardt should expect this and not be terrified of this rock and not do this because we really didn't get very good swing value out of our bubble here. We got one swing when we really could have gotten 3 swings. And if we got 3 swings and had the same amount of health as we do right now, how would that other Reinhardt be looking?
Lower.
Pretty poor. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be in pretty bad shape, and they'd be like, oh, shoot, we all have to spend resources trying to heal our Reinhardt. They can't really push into you. Hey, that's a winning trade. Is it going to get you back into the fight all by itself? No, but it's going to do a real good job of helping to make up this difference of, whoops, we lost a player. Okay, so we're going to need some better communication, trust, understanding of how this works between our Reinhardt and our Zarya here. Because this is a pretty cyclable thing. We're pushing in. I don't necessarily want to be pushing in right now. And why don't I want to be pushing in right now as Reinhardt?
No bubble.
Right. Like, we have a certain cooldown cycle, and if I was 1 second away from bubble, I could push in right now. But I can't really push in 3 seconds away from bubble like this because I'm going to get chunked down low enough on health that by the time I get my bubble, I'm going to be afraid to swing with my bubble because my health is going to be so low. I can pretty much guarantee that. Okay, well, not if I then do this, but now I'm just spending shield, not really doing anything. I hopped on the point, then hopped off. Like, we're in this situation where, okay, now we should be looking to aggress. And this bubble does nothing. This bubble does nothing, and that's a problem because they're running Sigma, we're running Zarya. If they're running Sigma and we're running Zarya from an off-tank level, this team outpokes us. So we have to get the Brawl value of being able to swing during bubbles because Reinhardt's swinging during Sigma shield really isn't quite as good. You guys with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, McCrew's taking the off angle. We love it. Great. We're pushing up to try to get our staggers. We've got about 1 more second, and we're really done and going to fall back now, I hope. I hope. Okay, good. This isn't a good point to spawn camp them on. Let's not do it. Works for me. Sure. Okay, and this is a perfectly fine poke bubble, Zarya, again, because you know that they're going to have a tough time forcing a fight within about 6 seconds on you, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
So this is fine. We're falling back. I think we're going a little light. I'm going to watch our BAP here to be sure, but I think we're probably going a little light on our weaving. Okay. Works for me. Except why haven't I worked a right click in here? I like that I'm seeing so many left clicks, I do, but my Reinhardt's missing a good 150 health.
Yeah, I definitely need to work on my alternating and stuff.
Okay, no problem. And now we're going to stack 3 right clicks in a row, and mostly we feel panicked enough to do this because we weren't weaving earlier. But okay. Sure, we're going to do that. Again, this would be so much more powerful if I had, like, a Hanzo sitting over here, that sort of thing, but I'll deal. Both support ults for that. That was just kind of a foolish coalescence, and we'll take it. So it was expensive, but it was nice of them to give us that coalescence back. Did you guys have a plan for that fight, or did you all just sort of go, well, these seem like good ideas?
Yeah, no, we just pressed Q.
No, I think the grab was planned. Nothing else was planned.
Yeah, I called it out that I was going to grab, but it was probably early, and I think that caused people to panic to make sure we got value out of it.
Okay.
It probably could have been.
Yeah,
Probably
I
more
beat it
patient with
because
the
I thought my
graph.
Lazari was low, but I couldn't save her.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So Zariolo, that sort of things. Okay, so generally one thing that can help if you find you're perhaps over ulting is just calling when you're ulting. Planning your fights is good, but plans don't always meet contact with reality. Opponents use ults. Opponents start fights in ways we don't expect. So plans are good. But one of the things that can help make sure or help minimize the odds of we're beating and windowing at the same time. We don't really need both of those, that sort of thing, is if you're sort of vocal about your ulting, even if it's as you're doing it, beating, windowing, that sort of thing, I don't need you to be like windowing in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to beat. I don't need that, but just like calling the ult as you're doing it. Yes, I know there's already a voice line, but it's sort of an extra attention puller to your team. And it being an extra attention puller is good because A, it makes your team do things that they should be doing during your ult, like getting aggressive more consistently and faster, which is like sort of like making your ult last longer. But it also serves as a bit of a reminder of, wait, no, we just used an ult. Am I hearing a lot of enemy voice lines too? No? Then I probably don't need to dump another ult into this unless I'm hearing enemy voice lines or I'm seeing eliminations happen in the other direction. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So that can be helpful. Again, I haven't heard your comms, but as a way to help, as a sort of basic step to help make you sure you guys don't over ult and things like that, or minimize. It doesn't make sure, but it minimizes over ulting a bit. Okay. Okay. We're gonna lamp it. We're gonna lamp it. Good. Where did our Reinhardt get off to? Back here, sure. Okay, I'm gonna let this go. But this probably feels like one of those. How were you guys supposed to win this fight? Like, what could you possibly have done to win this fight? They had Flux, they had Bob, they have Window, they have High Noon. Like, how can you guys possibly win this fight? It's just not
Back
fair,
off
right?
immediately.
What's that?
Maybe like back off immediately if once we see them pop a bunch of ults.
You could. I mean, Flux, even just Flux Dragon is going to be hard to back away from, right? Like, they're sort of in a situation where Flux sort of catches you, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you really need to either slow this fight down in such a way that you can generate more ults. You need to make it really hard for them to set their fight up. Or you need to do something cutesy where, like, hey, we're going to get a backline pick and mess you guys up so that, hey, if you guys do in fact force your ults, you're potentially forcing your ults into a 5v6 type scenario, which then makes them think twice of, do we really want to do this? I'd kind of like to ult in an even fight, that sort of thing. And maybe they do, but even if they do, you guys have shots because, they're down a person. So those are sort of two different things, though, aren't they? One of those is you want to slow down the fight, sand in the gears make it super awkward and annoying to push into you guys, make it super hard for them to set up. The other is, hey, you kind of want to go pretty fast and, maybe force a play onto them, like, let's just try to run them over, something like that, or bait them in, then have our Hanzo get a pick from having been hiding back here or something before the fight. So I can go.
Also,
Please.
sorry for interrupting, but do you mind adding Ian back? He disconnected.
I do. That's on Ian. One-time invite. No, I'm kidding. Okay, welcome back. So those are sort of the options. But if I look at how you guys approach this fight, you just sort of went, hey, we're just gonna wait till our Zarya's back. We're gonna hold this in a normal way. Great. If you want to slow this down and make it hard for them to approach, I probably want my McCree over here in Hotel. You guys can't see if I draw, so I probably want my McCree over here in Hotel. I maybe want my Hanzo back up here. Maybe I want my Hanzo up here, my Bap up here. I want to do something to make them go, huh, how do we catch a lot of you in an ult? How do we initiate a fight onto you guys well, given that I was waiting for my Zarya? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not on the table, I'm going to want to do what I always want you guys to do, which is, okay, as this is happening, this fight has started, why is my McCree here rather than already going through here? Because all of their eyeballs are going to be pretty hard glued to the Reinhardt that they're trying to eliminate, or the guys that got lifted by Flux, right?
Yeah.
Now, Henry can't go do that because of where Henry is. I don't like that Henry's over here, but if this happens and Henry can trade out the BAP real quick, trade out the Moira real quick, maybe get the Ashe, maybe we've still got shots in this fight, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're pushing us, and it's really predictable how they're pushing us. It's really predictable that they're going to push around like this, and I bet they would be super vulnerable to, I don't know, anyone walking through here, and I force fade, I eliminate BAP, anything like this. This is kind of free, isn't it? And it might feel super hard to leave the fight right now, but it's here. And I know I've really hounded on this hotel flank, like I really have, but it really is it is your fastball in Brawl v Brawl to be like, okay, our McCree's gonna off ankle. What are you gonna do next fight? Our McCree's gonna off ankle. What are you gonna do the fight after that? Our McCree's gonna off angle. The fight after that, our McCree's gonna flashbang your Ryan down main. Okay, fine. But it kind of is that simple. And it doesn't have to be your McCree every time because you have Hanzo as well, and you guys are choosing to do it like that. But that just means you're gonna use off angles, but these off angles are gonna develop to near flank level for at least one of them.
It's hand.
Sure.
It's hand.
So this was basically never happening. They did it correctly. They high nooned late enough that you guys really were not going to be able to advance on them and retake point. So unless this was matched, this was probably a case of you just let the high noon go, and then you push back in and win the fight after the, or try to win the fight after the point has unlocked. It absolutely sucks, but this was just not a situation where you don't have a defense matrix, you don't have a Mei wall. How can you possibly push this, right?
Yeah. Would it be possible for us to use speed boost to rotate through the other side of the hotel, like the entire team?
Sure. McCree's going to then look that way, and then maybe your McCree can pick him off when he looks that way. But yeah, that would be better than what we did. I still don't think you're going to be successful with that. I actually do think that this one's just gone. But yeah, that would absolutely be better than what we did, which is, no, Reinhardt's already firestruck. This high noon's being charged, and we're going to walk like this, and we'll be okay. This was always going to be, no surprise. We lose our Zarya, we lose our Rhine shield, everything's just too charged, and this goes down, and now we're going to try to high noon into a fight that we can't possibly win. But that's okay.
Obtain kill. Stop the payload.
Okay. So this is fun. We have a really good idea of where the fight's going to happen. Where do we think the fight is going to happen? We can see the cart through walls. We can't see the opponents through walls, but we know when we got eliminated. Where do we think the next team fight is going to happen?
Next to the bookstore, whatever that's called.
Okay, cool. Next team fight is going to happen to the bookstore. What off angle can threaten the other team if the fight is happening next to bookstore?
The stairs on the left.
So like here?
Yeah.
So you guys push your main core through here and you push an off angle person through here?
That is what I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, that could
You can
work.
also go all the way around the side.
I'd probably be more interested, in going around the side here. And the reason I'd be more interested in that is I don't want this situation where they can close the angle against the team, and then still put a shield up and shoot at, a soldier up there, something like that. I would much more prefer this angle where, hey, even if they're fighting around this corner or whatever, my team's going to push into them, and I've now got this, and they can't really close the angle against this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd prefer this. It's a little more vulnerable, but I would prefer to set up for this to happen. And there's no reason, because I already know where the fight is going to happen, that I can't start running a McCree or a soldier there right now, is there?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I hope we do. Oh boy. Okay, so instead we've done something poor. This is a worse corner to hold than... We just took too long, and this is a worse corner to hold than this corner. Why is this a worse corner to hold? Can anyone tell me?
Is there more off angles onto our team?
Sure, I could go with that. That's absolutely threatening. It's also just a longer straightaway that you guys have to retreat down if you get pushed. Like, if you're here and you get pushed around and you start to lose it, this retreat isn't too bad. Retreating from here all the way to back here is a pretty rough one, whereas if you push them, if you round the corner on them, they have a terrible retreat path, right? Whereas if you push the corner around on them here because you're winning, they're going to get out to a new level of safety pretty quickly, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So conceptually, how far they'd have to kite if you win the corner is part of the strength or weakness of a corner versus how far you'd have to kite. Absolutely, the fact that they can come around and threaten you from here, come around and threaten you from here, potentially threaten you from over here or up here also matters for this corner. But my main focus was actually going to be the distance on this one. That's fine. Sure, why not?
Best shot.
Okay. This is a really long time to have not bubbled in this fight. Like, I'm coming into this fight as Zarya. Okay. Sure. I'd have sure liked to have bubble for Shatter. That would have actually prevented the flash, but it's just conceptually generally a good idea. We go for this. That makes sense. And my Reinhardt is in there swinging right now, right? So I don't know exactly what he's swinging at, but he's swinging at something. Sigma's definitely looking at him, and I kind of want to get this bubble because I'm not convinced that I'll be able to get the bubble another second from now. He's about to go bind card. So I'd like this bubble to go off. We're instead late on it, and by the time we get it, he's already sort of backing out, and his shield could work just fine for him. So definitely not as good a bubble. I am going to focus on your guys' bubbles as a team, because the synergy and abusing it between your Reinhardt and Zarya is one of the things that you're going to have to get a lot of value out of if you're running your Ryan Zarya comp like this. It's also one of the ways that you're going to win. And I don't have a problem with you running Ryan Zarya. You guys can absolutely win with Ryan Zarya quite fine, especially on this level. Reasonable lamp. We're going to push up. We're trying to get staggers. We can push up harder than this. Okay, so I think we're afraid to spawn camp here. Because this was, you guys notice how slowly you sort of walked up as a group to get here?
Yeah.
I think you guys are afraid, and like the hairs on the back of your neck are climbing. You're like, we're not supposed to be here. We're overextending. All those things that people yell at us for. No, you guys are fine. You're all up here together. You're perfectly fine. They don't have anyone on their team that's going to do a good job of slipping past you and backcapping card or anything. You can keep walking forward and get more eliminations. You can absolutely do that, and you could chain these eliminations into a spawn camp where you set up and hold right here. But that's okay. You're not doing it, and this is really just you guys kind of being afraid to do it, which, you know, that's okay. You just need to recognize it and go push, 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 go for these staggers when it makes sense. Pretty soon it's not going to make sense because you didn't go get them. And you can still be forward poking. You're backing off a tiny bit early. Their Ashe isn't even alive yet. You guys can absolutely be winning poke battle 5v1 with their Sigma, right?
Yeah.
So there's not really a reason to be backing off yet. You sense that some of them are alive. Maybe a McCree's going to show up over there. Maybe someone's going to walk through here. But you actually have another good 2 seconds you could have taken this poke battle for before you fell back to hold arch. Good. Okay. Not a big deal. Sure. Okay, and now you're going to walk on them, right? Okay. So we just used 2 ults. They used 1 ult. They're down there, Reinhardt. You guys should be pretty healthy. Your BAP should be able to heal your team up through this window like lightning. Why are we still here? Your Reinhardt shield looks totally healthy. Go ahead.
I backed off because I was very low.
Yeah, Zarya backing off makes sense to me. Be careful not to back off through the window. You want to keep the window between you and the BAP so that the BAP can double speed heal you. But like as a team, you guys should have a killer instinct to go push forward right now. You see what I'm talking about here? Where it's like, wait a second, their Reinhardt's down. They don't have coalescence, we know that much. They just used a bunch of resources to try to survive, and most of them did survive our grab window combo. I want to push up and go farm them because you guys still have lots of resources other than your Zarya. Yeah, you're down your lamp. Yeah, your window's about to expire. But your Reinhardt shield is like full health. And other than Zarya, we're in great shape, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. You guys have this strong defensive position. You don't want to give up. But it's more important that you go get staggers right now. You should win more times than not if you push out to go get staggers right now. So that's what we want to do. Instead, we kind of let them get grab and window out of us. Yeah, for a team fight win, but kind of cheaply. Uriah is taking way too much damage, and I'm almost positive it's because your BAP is not weaving. Get inside. We're reloading. No, that time Uriah's just taking too much damage. Okay. We're still not weaving and shooting at the Reinhardt's shield while doing this. We also wouldn't reload here. So this, I'm getting a little micro, I know, but there's not a great reason to have gone into a reload cycle here because this, like, if you were in a pre-healing situation where everyone was basically full health, your Reinhardt's missing 50 health, whatever, doesn't matter, and you go, I'm going to reload so that I'm not stuck reloading in the middle of the fight, I'm totally with you. But is that the situation you're in, or is this fight already real?
Mm-hmm.
This fight's already real, so I'd much rather you continue to spend your ammo of both types until the reload automatically gets forced in, because that's better than, like, I'm forcing the reload now. Well, that's just an efficiency loss. Again, if you were just pre-healing, the fight hadn't started yet, totally fine. Hit the reload at 6 ammo, at 7 ammo, 5 ammo, whatever, no problem. But not, because that way you're not going to have an ammo 3 seconds into a fight like you're going to have this time. But I'd rather have that reload 3 seconds into the fight after it turns real than in the first second of the fight actually being real. Like, once the fight is real, it's kind of too late to do this kind of reload unless there's a good reason for you to have cover, which there wasn't here.
I think it's a habit from when I play Ana, because I think Ana has like a slower animation when you reload at like empty.
She does. Technically, Ana has a slightly slower animation when you reload at empty, but that just means you reload at 1, maybe. I'm not convinced that should actually be your takeaway. I'm sympathetic to that argument, but yeah, it's only if you reload at 0 with Ana, and it's really not that much longer. And if you're doing it early because of that, the reload should happen at 1, not at 2, not at 3, not at 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Why are we kiting during beat? We just beat. So if I'm shouting beat, my team should understand that we want to push right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we should be walking forward, other than someone who's maybe dealing with Bob. But instead, I'm watching Reinhardt hop back, I'm watching Zarya unsure where they're going, I'm watching BAP back up, and we all end up walking ourselves into this flux that he dropped. He'd have put the flux wherever he had to, but, like, we didn't really want to run away during beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem.
It's time.
I can live with that one. Obviously, we didn't get the limbs we might have expected. That's because your team was already around the corner. That's going to happen because retreat seemed to be the game plan. And then you saw something juicy because they were pushing on you. If you're calling shatter, your team might turn from their heels to their toes just a tiny bit faster than they did. But ultimately, that one was never going to be unless you pre-told your team what you were doing, you were never going to have huge follow-up for that. Okay, can Ryan get out? Okay. We're gonna hold our corner. I'm actually less interested in getting this Fire Strike off as Ryan. Don't get me wrong, the Fire Strike through window is pretty powerful, but at this point, I'd probably be more interested in just stepping through the window myself. So again, the BAP can heal me for more, because that's a bit of a problem. Okay, this is happening. We're soldiers in spawn. Fine. And what was that? I repeat, what was that? You bubble him because he gets stunned. Okay. Okay. So this is a little bit dicey where we went up here. We're doing this. We're going to go ahead and do our swing and then pull back. Our push cycle didn't really make sense without bubble available, but I'll deal. But now I'm like really not sure what are we doing. Like our team thought we were pushing, but why did we stop pushing?
I don't know. I think it was just because the Ryan backed off.
Excellent. So that's fine. We go here. Team looks like the Ryan's pushing. Team is pushing. I like it. Ryan gets pushed back a little bit. Fine. Ryan, why are you taking a step backwards here?
I don't
Ryan's
know.
not here right now.
He's not here right now, but we can show him afterwards. Yeah.
So I don't want Ryan to step back right here. I want Ryan to keep going forward. Now Reinhardt might hold his shield up in swing range of the other team, waiting to get healed, or just outside of swing range, waiting to get healed, and then he might swing once he feels he has enough health. I think he has enough health right now, but it's a near thing. But I don't want him backing up, because if he backs up, he gives this team more time to stabilize, to poke, and I don't want him to get healed up and then go walk forward, because that's inefficient for my BAP. I want him to be sort of near the range in a place where he already pushed up, and his option then was either to back all the way out or to stabilize until he's healthy enough that he can swing again. Does that conceptually make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and if it doesn't, it's totally fine. I know I'm asking you guys if stuff makes sense a lot, and you guys are saying, yeah, but like, by all means, I'm happy to explain things differently in different ways. You guys can challenge stuff. I'm not going to be offended. Absolutely feel free. So, there we go. Push, push, push. Interesting target selection. We're choosing to kite out here. That's perfectly reasonable. And now we've created this situation. I hope we don't cross. Oh, Lucio. So, Exor, there's not a huge reason for you to cross here. Like, I look at this and go, hey, I would love to go help my Reinhardt, but, like, your BAP needs healing, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to stay here and heal my BAP. Maybe I'm going to chill up here and poke at these guys from up here, start working on my next beat, put some pressure on them. I don't really need to skate my way across and heal these guys. My BAP can heal these guys from across, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd have liked to do that. There's really not a good reason for you to get caught here. This is like you just daring the enemies to hit you, and you don't even do it on the wall. You go on the ground. Okay.
60 seconds remaining.
Again, that Reinhardt's eliminated if you're a live Exor, but that's okay. Okay. That's almost certainly not the window I dropped. Was that just a misclick?
I was trying to put it in front of my team so they could pressure them. So where would you? I was like when we did a VOD review earlier.
Yeah.
People were saying I should jump up to the high ground to challenge the Ash with the window.
Sure, you could do that. That would be okay with me. The other thing that would be okay with me is, yeah, I'm just dropping this window at my own feet because I'm getting to shoot this team in the back, right? I get to double my heals on my team, and I get to shoot this Sigma in the back. Like,
yeah, I guess I didn't notice how low they were.
Got
other
it.
than that, yeah.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I would be very personal with your windows, very greedy with your windows. Window just comes up so often, and setting up, you can write a thesis on setting up the perfect window. I've certainly worked with a coach who was very happy to do so. And don't get me wrong, like it's great to think about the perfect window, and yes, let's do that. The perfect window is great. You should think about it. You should understand it. But you know what? A 7 out of 10 window twice as often is a fair bit better than a 10 out of 10 window that you're sort of looking for that good one. Just drop it at your own feet. Drop it at your own feet. Do work. You got it.
Okay.
How y'all doing?
Allow me to repair the damage.
Seconds remaining. The payload has reached.
Okay, you guys are down too many people. You're going to have to back off. You aren't going to get to do a forward hold. You'll have to retake for a forward hold.
I've got you in my sights.
Thanks.
Okay, so as we go here, I think this isn't going to be too wild. What am I going to tell you guys? I'm beating a dead horse, but what am I going to tell you guys here?
That we need to contest the Ashe?
Okay, that's cool. Who's going to contest Ashe on your team?
Nobody.
Lucio. Lucio, unfortunately. Ashe doesn't have a flashbang, so it's going to be you. Okay, so that's one thing. And this is about where I'd want my Lucio playing anyways, because he's in a place where he can offer aura to Reinhardt. He can, if their Reinhardt comes in close, boop him in, boop him out, whatever the case may be. He can shoot over things from up here. He can help control this high ground. This is generally where I'd want my Lucio anyways, so yeah, you're going to contest the Ashe. What else am I going to say? What did I go over mercilessly on first point?
Off angle?
McCree playing.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah. So what are the valid off angles? If we think of this map in terms of, hey, there's the main path that the cart goes down, what's another place on this map right now that is impactful on this team fight that you could get control of? Ashe has one of them, but there's others.
The right of the screen right now.
Right side of my screen, exactly. So we could have a McCree threatening through here, or a soldier threatening through here. We could have a soldier threatening through here. We could have had a McCree waiting in here and now open the off angle on this back line. Any of these things would be very dangerous to this team because there wouldn't be a barrier or anything that they'd have to worry about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I instead thought, no, our next fight isn't really over this, we can't hold this, the next fight is going to be more around here-ish, I could instead be setting up with like a McCree on this high ground, a soldier on this high ground, this sort of thing. But if this fight is happening here, which I think it is, I need something here. At the very least, I need this. More likely, I need this. And like, that's just how the comp works. And when you're setting up your defenses, you think about where's the fight going to take place, and you look to set up your McCree, your soldier, your Hanzo on that off angle, and you have them not reveal themselves until the tank lines start to meet. You with me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let that play through. I assume you guys are in stall mode at this point.
The payload is approaching.
We're trying. Oh! Okay. Did Echo come out this way? Or did everyone come out right side?
I think Echo came out though.
Good, good. Okay, you guys dump ults. You mostly have to dump ults. You didn't really have to dump the nano, but that's fine. We'll take it.
All the panic.
Yep. I mean, ultimately, you had to dump ults because losing the fight is not an option. So, we'll take it. You guys are set up with your elite comp. I like it.
The page.
What am I going to say here?
Off angle.
I am going to say off ankle. And you guys get to decide where the fight is going to happen. Are you going to contest them early, which means you'd have something like your Kree hanging out in here? Or are you going to contest them later, knowing that they have to go to cart, have your Kree hide here, and then have your Kree open this angle as they're trying to push into cart? Up to you. You guys get to pick where this fight happens this time. But you're not set up for either of those, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think our Echo has like a slight off angle, and she pushes out the Reaper though.
Hey, I'm happy with what Echo's doing, but McCree needs one too.
Yeah.
10 seconds remaining.
Get into position.
Okay, so now it's clear that you guys have lost this off angle. You're choosing to take the fight back here, so I'd really like to have something back here. I'd have also liked my Lucio up here the whole time, again, poking, doing Lucio things, hanging out with Reinhardt, but okay. Excuse me, we don't have our Lucio anymore, do we? No, I'm...
Yeah,
okay.
Zen.
Yep, you're right. Sure, Reinhardt's trying to block in front of the window. I like it. Okay. It's fine, and that's the end of the rounds. Okay, let's jump into the next round here.
Complete.
I might have to leave in like 5 minutes, but
Totally fine. Totally fine. I'm going to have to do a hard stop in 15 minutes or just before anyways, so it's possible that we won't 100% get through the map, but I will pull the plug before then and make sure that we have good takeaways for the team to work on, because really we're not trying to go, oh, how do you win this specific Games of Kings Row? We're trying to make sure you guys have good team things to work on that are going to make you better as a team.
Is this going to be on YouTube later?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. 'Cause I might have to leave soon too.
Yeah, no problem.
5,
I think we've all got to leave pretty soon.
3, 2,
Okay.
1.
So here we are.
Incoming.
You guys push out. You're on your AMP version. This is strictly worse, I promise, than the BAT version of the comp.
Oh, I remember we were arguing about
We discussed that.
Okay.
It's a great length.
Okay. No problem. There we go. We're super late on that swap there, but that was because we were threatening with Widow. I don't really want to be pushing onto point right now because my McCree is going to be so late, and I know that. And I don't think we got some huge advantage over this. So this is just untimed pressure. We're so lucky to be alive. And we should push in on our next bubble cycle, which we probably have. Yeah. Okay, so that's a little early. Knight Rider can use his own shield to get close. He needs the bubble once he's actually in swing range, and preferably once he's actually swinging. Okay.
Makes sense.
We should develop. Henry is going to develop the off angle. And, you know, this is unfortunate, but they hit the pin, and that sort of makes our pushing up of the off angle not quite work, because usually you do it when the tank lines meet. We tried, but our tank got pushed back very, very hard. Fortunately, we're going to get him. We're not going to lose anyone, and if we take this slow, we win. Okay. We're off angling with our Kree relatively hard. Good. We'll take it. Definitely don't nano there. And I'm good with the aggressive push.
Stop the pain.
Oh, okay. If we could stop for just a moment here. If
Sure.
you look at cart, I think we put our main heal or put our Ana on cart.
Yep.
And we had a higher level player tell us in like a subsequent scrim that usually we want like Lucio on cart and Ana up with the team, or Ana BAP up with the team. Is that true, or?
It's incredibly complicated, is the answer to that
Because
question.
I think we ended up having to back off here because of the lack of
Yeah.
feeling we had.
So it's incredibly complicated is the answer to that question, because yes, you're now not going to be able to sustain with your Ana, and that doesn't really work. You don't really want a bunch of situations where your flex support can't heal you. That generally doesn't work very well. Flex support is a good cart pusher when they can see your team from cart. They're not a very good cart pusher when they can't see your team from cart. But it works differently. There's a push up ahead of your team to go get staggers phase, and then there's a push up ahead to go sort of forward poke stage. And the staggers is like we're actually running them down and we're catching retreating people, we're winning 5v2s, that sort of thing. The forward poke stage is maybe ahead of the next choke you're going to use, or trying to establish the next choke that you're going to use. But it is, how do I want to put this? But it's a poke, it's a trade. You don't have some massive advantage over them anymore. You with me so far?
Yeah.
So for that stagger phase, if you're going to get staggers, whoever's forward and whoever's fast has to go forward and do stuff. But then if you get those eliminations, potentially you can go for more staggers. If you don't get those eliminations, it potentially turns into a forward poke phase. And the best people, the fastest people, are not necessarily the best people for that forward poke phase, but they're already there. So sometimes you need to organize little swaps, because Lucio is pretty good at that forward poke phase. He actually lets you stay in that forward poke phase for longer. But you can't really feel like you afford to be missing your Ana here, right? So in these types of situations, you might have to swap. You send your Lucio forward to go get your staggers, because Ana's too far back to help with getting staggers, but then you've kind of got to go swap. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Okay.
what would the ideal swap be? Lucio for Ana here, or?
In this situation, I'd actually probably, Lucio for Ana would be fine here. Then you've got lots of forward poke power. Your Ana can sustain you. Lucio for Ana in this situation would be the correct swap, yes. I could get away with a DPS living on cart, definitely not your Zarya. So yeah, I'd go Lucio for Ana here.
Okay. Thank you.
Frequently, you're going to end up with like Tracer on cart. That's not going to happen, obviously, for you guys specifically. Okay, so I'm actually from here going to head into a sort of general takeaways here and what you guys need to work on, because we are hitting the end of what we can do for time here, and I want to make sure we get that in. So like the most important two things that I want you guys to work on as a team are going to be, I want you guys, when we're thinking about this Brawl comp, to work on these two things. And one of those is going to be, Henry, I see you are trying to take off angles sometimes. Off angles are not like a sometimes thing for you. Off angles are like, this is part of just how we play our Brawl v Brawl fights and how we play most of our fights when we are Brawl. As the tank lines meet, you finish developing your angle and then open. Even if you're missing from the fight for a second, for 2 seconds, that's what's going to happen. And if your team isn't allowing you to set those up on defense, you tell your team, where are we fighting? Or, you insist, where are we fighting? If you find the card is moving too fast through King's Row, developing this off angle, setting up the fight in a place where that off angle can happen, because you get to control where you decide to stop the cart mostly as defense. That is going to be the single biggest thing you guys can do to make a difference there. So I want that to happen. I'm talking to Henry because I saw Henry took off angles the most for it, but this does also apply to MX, because I see you guys jump around on who you play. One of you should have a pretty steep off angle, like an almost flank level off angle, like 90 degrees, something along those lines, basically every single fight. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you mentioned this was for like Brawl v Brawl. Does this apply to like other comp matchups as well? Should we be looking for this in all matchups, or?
So it applies most to Brawl v Brawl, because when you start running into Brawl v Dive, you don't want your McCree to run into a Tracer and a ball that we're taking a lane, right? You don't want him alone to run into those types of things. And if you're running against poke, most of the time you don't want an extreme poke battle. You're going to instead go, hey, when we get an extreme poke battle against like an Orisa comp with Hanzo and Echo and something like that, more you're going to want to play tight and just sort of run them over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is mostly a Brawl v Brawl thing, but it absolutely has to happen in Brawl v Brawl. In these other comps, as they're further away, you're going to off angle a bit. You're going to spread a little bit out from your team, but not as far as these off angles. You're not as far as these near flank type things. You're just going to off angle slightly, maybe 20, 45 degrees, that sort of thing. And as you get closer to the fight starting, you're going to pull a bit closer to your team when you're playing these McCrees, these soldiers, these Hanzos. You with me?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so that's going to be one thing as a team. Another thing as a team is our tanks have to get together and get more bubble value for you guys. It has to be we have either poke bubbles or we have brawl bubbles. And for our poke bubbles, those are like, hey, I'm very confident the enemy team that the team fight is not going to start within about 6 seconds. If it starts at 7 seconds, I'll live. If it starts at 8 seconds, I'll live, even if your bubble isn't quite ready yet. But I'm very confident if I use my bubble, my projected bubble, in a poke phase just to get energy, and I'm going to work with my Reinhardt to get this, that the fight's not going to start. The other type of bubble I use as my Reinhardt is getting pushed, as my, whoever is getting pushed, as my Doomfist is slamming in, as my Winston is pushing in, but that bubble is actually like expected to get offensive value. And it should be as your Rein is in swing range or already swinging, as your Winston is flying through the air, as your Doomfist is flying through the air, as your Reaper is already in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there's going to have to be some level of working together from you two to get used to this, but this has to be part of your team's power to continue to be successful as a Ryan Zarya team. Like, it absolutely has to. And then the third thing I'm going to have you guys take away as a team here, and this is a lot I'm giving you. Please don't try to do this all at once. Please, tanks, work, go, and focus on this thing. DPS, go focus on your off-angling thing here. Supports, I'm not going to give you guys something specific. I'm going to make a more general team thing here. If I do want you guys to call when you use your ults. Call when you use your ults. It's likely to help you out quite a bit in terms of whoops, we didn't over ult, as well as hopefully getting you guys more aggressive. As a team, I would like you guys to get more aggressive when you're ahead, but I don't want to make it a focus now because it's kind of a nebulous concept and it's much easier for you guys to work on these other things, get good value out of them, get confidence, and then as you build confidence, you'll hopefully get more aggression. So with all those, do those make sense to you? Do you guys have questions about any of them? Do you have questions about anything else? Anything that you'd like me to go into more here?
Not really. At least not for me. I just
Yeah,
got a head out
nothing.
now, but this was really helpful.
Okay.
And maybe I think next week, well, we have a scrim later tonight, but next week we are also like, I'm thinking we could show you our Ball Zen comp as well.
Perfect.
Because that's the one we play on every single control map.
Love it. Love it. I would
Yep.
love to work on your Ball Zen comp. When you do queue up for your scrim, when you guys do go into your scrim here, please do make sure that you have what you're working on in mind specifically, and you try to specifically work on that. I do not care if you win your scrim. It's not like about winning the scrim. It's about getting better at the specific thing that you're working on. So whenever you're playing Brawl in this next scrim, I want you to try to focus on getting your bubble timings right, making sure you're using those off angles and opening them as the Brawl fights, as the Brawl starts. But yeah, okay, guys, I will look
very
forward to
much.
next time then.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.